Welcome to the MLB Desk podcast with your host, Alec Pecado. On the show today, you will get my top 5 prospects, my game picks for Saturday, players to watch, and much more. Let's get started without wasting any time. Here are my top 5 prospects that are on the verge of getting the call. Starting with number 5, Brody Hopkins of the Tampa Bay Rays. All these guys are in AAA. Brody Hopkins has a 4.5 ERA in AAA right now. Not saying the Rays don't need to rush him. They can let him stay in AAA if they want the rest of the season. Or they could call him up and I think the deadline to not lose rookie eligibility is August 15th. So we're a little ways away from that. The Rays could call him up in August, and he would still be eligible for rookie awards next year. But like I said, the Rays don't need to. He's somebody the Rays do not need to rush to the big leagues. The Rays can hold off on rushing him up to the big leagues. Number 4 prospect is Colt Emerson of the Mariners. He's also in AAA. If you didn't hear earlier in the season, he's one of the prospects that signed a lucrative extension before getting called up and even playing a single inning in the big leagues. And Colt Emerson signed an 8-year lucrative extension with Seattle. And at some point, he's going to get called up. I don't know when. Because J.P. Crawford is the shortstop right now. Maybe they're leaving Emerson in AAA till next year. Or probably the end of this year in August 15th, they'll probably call him up to the big leagues. And that's what I would guess. My number 3 prospect is infielder Mikey Romero from the Red Sox. Now, here's the thing with the Red Sox. If they don't turn their season around, there's a lot of guys that are going to get moved. Trevor Story, Jaron Duran, maybe Caleb Darby gets moved again. Hello, how are you? And Mikey Romero could be one of the prospects that gets called up for the Red Sox. My number 2 prospect is the guy that is the thumbnail of this video. Braden Montgomery of the White Sox just promoted to AAA. And we see how fun the White Sox are to watch this year. I'm doing just magnificent today. Thank you for asking. Back to Braden Montgomery. He just got promoted to AAA. I would not be surprised with the next month and a half if we see Braden Montgomery in the big leagues. And the number 1 prospect that is on the verge of a call-up is Cole Stewart of the Diamondbacks, left-handed pitcher. The Diamondbacks, if they fall out of the race for the playoffs, they will be. Mayor Kelly's probably going to get traded. Zach Gallen's probably going to get traded. I'm not a White Sox fan, but I do like how the White Sox have been playing this year. My favorite teams are the Tampa Bay Rays and the Cincinnati Reds. But I do watch all the other MLB games. And before we get to the next segment, which is my game picks, I'm just going to briefly... These podcast episodes are also archived on the sportsbreakdown.net website. So if you want to watch this episode in full after it's over, head over to the website. That is also where you can get, if you do fantasy baseball, that's where you can get my entire full waiver wire 10 hitter, 10 pitchers, plus deep league ads, as well as during the college football season. That's where rankings will be, conference standings, and game picks for every week. Which, speaking of that, let's get to my game picks for Saturday in the MLB. And we start with the Rangers and Astros. The Astros shut out the Rangers yesterday behind Spencer Arrighetti in his no-hitter that he had going into the seventh, I believe it was the eighth inning, and he lost it in the eighth. But right now, I know the Astros are not doing very well, but I'm going to take the Astros to beat the Rangers. Number 2, Reds and Guardians. My pick for this game is the Reds. The Reds won yesterday behind a good start from Andrew Abbott. And I think the Reds are going to make it 2 in a row here against the Guardians. Number 3 game is the Nationals and the Orioles. And the Nationals beat Baltimore yesterday. And I think the Nationals are going to do it again today. Royals and Cardinals is the next game. And I am taking the St. Louis Cardinals to beat Kansas City. The Cardinals won on a walk-off single by Ivan Herrera yesterday. And I believe the Cardinals are going to win this game again today. Next is the Rays and the Marlins. The Rays won game 1 7-2 last night. And I believe I know they're going to win game 2. But most of the time, I'm right with my predictions. And then the last game is the A's and the Giants. And I'm taking the San Francisco Giants to beat the Athletics here. And my player to watch is going to be... That leads to our player to watch segment. And it's going to be AJ Ewing of the Mets. The Mets have been playing better since they called up Ewing. Carson Bench has been mashing. Now I'm going to give you a little update. A short update on... I'm going to talk about the Rays for a little bit here. So we got from Mark Tompkin the other day, very esteemed beat reporter for the Rays, we got some injury updates. Joe Boyle's making his next start at Durham, and he's scheduled to go 4 innings, between 60 to 65 pitches. Gavin Lux got a PRP injection for the injuries he's been dealing with. And Steven Matz should be ready to come back some point next week. Which the Rays head into next week and they play Baltimore. Which that's going to be a good series, I think. And we rewind back to last night for the Rays. The Rays decided to go with an opener against the Marlins, followed by Jesse Schultz, which, yes, it did work. Schultz only gave up 1 run in his time as the bulk reliever out of the pen. And the Rays got a home run from Yandy Diaz. And some good pitching from Schultz, Seymour, and the rest of the bullpen to secure their 29th win of the year. Yes, you heard me right. 29 wins on the year for the Rays. And I can't... Everybody was saying at the beginning of the year, the Rays are going to be in last place. The Rays are a game and a half. The Rays are actually, I believe, in first place. We will get a standings update at the end of the show. I'm going to tell you, I've been heavily surprised with the guy with Johnny DeLuca. This is what the Rays traded for when they gave up Tyler Glasnow. It was Johnny DeLuca. Yes, he could not stay healthy last year, but he's healthy this year, and he is producing. And there was Rays fans out there that said, "Oh, Johnny DeLuca needs to be playing every day." Well, I think we can safely say Cedric Mullins heard that and had not one hit, not two, 3 hits last night for the Rays. 2 bunt singles and a home run. He was one of the Rays that had a home run last night. It was him and Yandy Diaz. And I think Mullins might start to see. Mullins is turning his season around. We are going to see Cedric Mullins maybe playing every couple days. And I'm going to make a bold prediction right now here today on the show. If Cedric Mullins is in the lineup tonight for the Rays against Miami, he's going to have at least 2 hits. And one of those hits is going to be a bunt single or a home run. And now, I've got some hot takes for y'all. And y'all can tell me if you agree or disagree in the comments. My first hot take is that Jonathan Aranda is here to stay as the everyday first baseman for the Rays. I know they have Xavier Isaac and Trey Morgan in the minors. But those guys are probably not coming up this year unless something happens, whether it's Yandy getting hurt. And my other hot take is Jonathan Aranda will hit a home run tonight for the Rays. And to wrap up the show, we are going to go over the MLB standings going into Saturday. So in the AL East, the Rays are in first place and have a 2-game lead on the Yankees. Yes, I know Yankees fans don't want to hear that. The Rays are no joke. The Rays are actually good this year. We go down to the AL Central, and it's the Guardians in first place, which, okay, that's not a shocker. Second place in that division is the Chicago White Sox, and they're 1 game out of first place. Then you get the Twins at 3.5, the Tigers at 3.5, and the Royals at 4.5. The AL Central, I'm going to say it right now on the show, and then when we go back over the standings on Monday, toward the end of Monday's episode, which is going to be a lot longer, the AL Central is a crapshoot right now. These standings could change by the end of the weekend. If the Guardians get swept by the Reds, the Guardians could be out of first place, and it may be Chicago in first place, maybe Minnesota, maybe Detroit, maybe Kansas City. Look at the AL West, and you see a surprising team in first place, the Athletics. And they're 2 games up on Seattle, 2 games up on Texas, 6 up on the Astros, 7.5 up on the Angels. And I think I'm going to make, I don't want to say a bold prediction here on the show right now, but I think the Astros, and on the website either next week or the week after, I will have a Google slide with all the guys that I think are very likely to get traded, medium, and least likely to get traded. And you might see Yordan Alvarez's name on there. I know Astros fans are not going to want to hear that, but I think it might be time. You could get a generational return for him. I will tell you that Mike Trout is not getting moved. Now we go to the NL East. And no surprise, the Braves are in first place, followed by the Phillies, 9 games back. The Nationals, 9 games back. The Marlins, 11. And the Mets, 12.5. Then we go down to the Central. This is the most competitive division in the NL. You got the Cubs in first place, Brewers 2.5 back, the Cardinals 2.5 back. The Pirates and Reds are both 5 back, but nobody in this division is under 500. Everybody's over 500 in the Central. And this is another division that could be a crapshoot. 1 week, the Cubs could be in first place. The next week, it could be Milwaukee. The next week, it could be the Cardinals or the Pirates or the Reds. Or they could, at some point, 3 out of the 5 teams could be tied for first place. And then to wrap it up, we look at the NL West. And you see the Dodgers right now in first place, but they've lost Tyler Glasnow and they've lost Blake Snell, both due to injuries. So those are 2 guys in their rotation that they've lost. But it's the Dodgers. You know, they're just gonna find somebody else to put in the rotation and move right along. The Padres in second place. The thing that worries me with San Diego is their rotation. It's a bag of mixed cards. Other than Michael King and maybe Randy Vasquez, who pitched 6 shutout innings last night for them. Then the Diamondbacks are only 5 games back at 21-22. If the Diamondbacks could start moving along and winning games, they can make up that ground easy. Then you got the Giants at 18-27, 9 games back, and 10 games back as the Rockies at 17-28. I will say the Rockies have been fun to watch this year, and they have some young guys that could come up. Charlie Condon, Ethan Holiday. They did just lose Chase Dollander to the IL for who knows how long. He's got a UCL injury, which we all know in baseball what that means. That means he's probably going to need the Tommy John, which is never good. And there's one more thing I'm going to show y'all before before the show goes off the air. So, here is the sportsbreakdown.net website, and I'm going to walk you through everything. So you see intro, everything in sports. Yes, I have to change that because that is not the podcast logo anymore. But there's our MLB podcast, college football one, which will be starting up soon. Saturday nights, which is MLB, NFL, college football, WWE. So that's where you can find all of those. If you want the podcast for MLB, which is the one we're doing right now, MLB Desk is right there. The other one, College Football Podcast 1, which is Fourth and Long Podcast, which you see we have a couple episodes lined up for July. So there's that. If you want the other MLB podcast, which is the one that's every Thursday, Saturday Night Lights right here. And then here's everything in sports. Slides. So there's the waiver wire for this week. I didn't change it. I will be updating it on. You will see a fresh waiver wire out Monday. And here's the prospect list, predictions, 2026 Rays. This is where you get, if you click on this is where you will get everything. Rankings, everything. And please remember to subscribe, like, turn on notifications, tell your friends about the show. But that wraps up today's episode of the MLB Desk Podcast. I'm your host, Alec. I will see everybody again on Monday at 12 p.m.